Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into what I like to call the architecture of adaptability. It's basically the blueprint for building teams that don't just get through change, but actually get better because of it. And the secret ingredient? It's all about building a real culture of feedback. So let's get right into it.
Have you ever looked at one of those teams that just gets it? They seem to be constantly evolving, crushing every new challenge that comes their way. But then there are other teams that feel completely stuck, kind of repeating the same old mistakes over and over. The difference between them is huge, but it's not always what you think it is.
Look, having a lot of talent is great, but it's not the whole story. Talent can be rigid. The real game changer is adaptability. It's the ability to learn on the fly, to adjust your course, and to find new ways around obstacles instead of just hitting a wall. That ability to change and grow, that's the real advantage.
Okay, so if adaptability is the engine that's pushing a team forward, what's the fuel that makes it run? Well, it's something that sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Feedback. And I don't just mean any feedback. I mean the kind that's constant, constructive, and that people are actually looking for.
We really need to change how we think about feedback. It is not about that dreaded annual review or someone just pointing out what went wrong. No, it's the absolute lifeblood of growth. It's the raw data we need to learn, it's the spark for brand new ideas, and it's the compass that guides us toward getting better every single day. Without it, your team is basically just flying blind.
So you hear this term feedback culture thrown around all the time, right? But what does it actually feel like to be in an environment like that, where feedback is just part of the DNA of how you work? Let's really break down what that means.
Pay attention to those keywords. They're actively sought in everyday operations. This is so important. This isn't a culture where you just sit around and wait for someone to tell you how you're doing. No, people go out and ask for it. And it's not some special event. It means getting better becomes the default setting, baked into absolutely everything the team does. This comparison just lays it all out perfectly. On one side, you've got that static, kind of brittle culture where any feedback feels like a personal attack. And the result is, well, you go nowhere. But on the other side, in a feedback culture, failure is just information. Feedback is a gift, and the result is non-stop dynamic growth. It's literally the difference between a brick wall and a growing vine.
So how does this whole thing actually work on a day-to-day basis? It's not about some super complicated process. It all comes down to a really simple, repeatable cycle that keeps progress moving forward. We call it the improvement loop.
So the loop has 3 simple stages. First, you collect the feedback, and this is key. You get it from your wins and your losses. Second, you have to take a step back, analyze it, and really reflect to figure out the why behind it all. That step is crucial. Then finally, you act on it. You iterate, you apply what you've learned to make a real change. And then the loop starts all over again, making the team just a little bit smarter and stronger each time.
Now, a culture like this doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. You have to build it, brick by brick, on a really solid foundation. So let's look at the 4 essential pillars you need to put in place to make this happen.
These 4 pillars are what hold the whole structure up. First, you need openness and trust. People have to feel safe enough to be honest with each other. Second, you got to encourage experimentation. Make it okay to try new stuff, and yeah, even to fail. Third, a true learning mindset, and that has to start from the top. And finally, accountability. All this feedback is pretty useless if nobody actually does anything with it.
And honestly, this might just be the most important part of the whole thing. A team's culture always flows down from its leaders. If leaders aren't asking for feedback on their own work, or if they punish people for making mistakes, this will never work. They have to live the behavior they want to see from everyone else.
So, what's the end game here? What are we really aiming for? It's not about just checking a box that says we did feedback. The real win is when this whole improvement loop becomes an unconscious habit for the entire team. When it's just how you all operate, without even thinking about it.
And this right here is the main takeaway. When collecting, analyzing, and acting on feedback becomes a reflex, something you just do, your team gets a genuine superpower. Adaptability stops being something you're trying to achieve, and it becomes a core part of who you are as a team. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. A culture like this doesn't start with some massive top-down corporate plan. It starts small. It starts with one person taking one small step. So what's one feedback conversation you could start today?